So
Yes.
Mr. Grandjany was instrumental, yes, in starting the Israel International Harp Competition?
Yes, he was. He knew that there was a big push for a competition, and it was sponsored by the Israeli Tourist Board, and that was the reason for having this competition, because it would bring people to the country.
Yeah.
And it was a very smart ploy, and the Tourist Board still has a lot to do with the competition. There was a big panel of contestants for the first time. And it's very interesting. It was in 1959, and it's interesting because it was very hard to get to Israel at that point in time. You flew from New York to God only knows where. I don't know if there was a through flight from New York to Tel Aviv. You possibly had to go from New York to someplace in Europe and then fly down. So it was difficult, and it was expensive. And some people took a harp, which was even more expensive.
I can only imagine shipping your harp to Israel.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Back then, it's hard enough to do it now.
It's hard enough to do it now, it is. But yes, he enlisted a great number of people to back this idea. Pierre Jamet was very interested in it from France. We really needed to get the young harpists out there so that they could meet their compatriots and they could hear other people play and just understand what goes into music making at the harp on really, really high level. So this is Mr. Grandjany. He was on the first jury, and he obviously was flying Air France, and that was his takeoff to go to Israel to be on the jury for the competition. And here is a picture of the entire jury that year. There's some very interesting people: Pierre Jamet, Salzedo.
Looks like Nicanor Zabaleta. Rosa Spire.
Lucille Johnson Rosenblum.
Yes.
Yep. Eileen Malone.
Wow.
Vera Dulova from Russia. Clelia Gatti-Aldrovandi from Italy. So it was a big jury, very important jury, very prestigious jury.
Yes, it looks like there were some composers and
Yes.
non-harpists on the jury, which is...
They always have at least one non-harpist judge. That I find to be very, very interesting, unless someone has a really good understanding of the harp.
Yeah.
I find that pianists don't have that wonderful an understanding of the instrument. They just don't. I'll be drawn and quartered for that comment, but it's the truth. Then here is the...
So that's the program from the
This is the program.
The competitors were asked to play off of this list of pieces.
Yes, this list of pieces. It was very, very big. Starting off with the first stage, the Gabriel Fauré Impromptu. And then you had to play one composition of classical music, original or adapted for the harp from lute, harpsichord, 16th to 18th century, such as one composition selected by the jury from a list of 3 compositions suggested by the contestant. The 3 compositions had to be original harp pieces, and then a short new composition written by an Israeli composer. This rule is still in effect, that there is always an Israeli piece on the competition. Then the second stage was huge. Handel Concerto, complete, and the Hindemith Sonata. And then one composition from the following list, works of Grandjany, Salzedo, Tournier, Renier, Musser, Golestan, and Glanville-Hicks. And then one composition selected from the jury, by the jury from a list of 3 compositions suggested by the contestant. The 3 compositions must be original harp pieces. And then the gala concert, which was really the winners, which is really the final round. The contestant had to have the following works in readiness: the entire Handel Concerto, the entire Debussy dances, and the entire Ravel introduction and Allegro. So this was a very, very big competition, and keeping all of that music going is really, really hard.
I find it interesting that both Salzedo and Grandjany were on the jury, and so many of the pieces that were part of the program were Salzedo, his transcription of the Paschetti Sonata, or Mr. Grandjany's transcription of the Respighi or the Francisque, and down here, the original compositions, the Scintillation by Salzedo and the Rhapsody or Children's Hour by Grandjany. Interesting that they both had to have their pieces on the on the list.
Well, and I think it might also have been because it was the first competition. These were leading lights in the harp world, and so might as well get those pieces out there. And I'm sure that they were more than happy to have their works on them. And also, there may have been some students who simply hadn't seen a lot of this repertoire first.
So many of us know it all so well now, but back then it was much newer.
Yeah.
And
this is a small picture, early color.
Yeah.
But there's Grandjany, and I think that's Mr. Propus from the tourist office, and Salzedo. And these two ladies, I don't know, I think one of them is Rosa Speer, and I don't know who the other one is.
Probably. We could figure it out from her photo in the program.
Right, you can. But they're wonderful photographs because here were Grandjany and Salzedo, compatriots, on the jury. And those were the pretty big heavyweights in harp at that time.
Especially in this country, right? The Salzedo and Grandjany. But they respected each other.
They did. They did. And I have to read to you a letter that's been translated from Salzedo to Grandjany, and it was from June of 1959. This competition was in 1959. And so the letter goes on to say, "Bravo, bravissimi on your recordings of Bach and the Amor d'Espagne. This latter being one of the most beautiful things and important, be it for the choice of works as much as for your superior execution. I have not known you to be this tender. The Cabezon reveals himself a grandmaster, but the Freixenet, what enchantment and curious reminiscence of the concerto for keyboard and other instruments of Faya. I cannot satiate myself with them. I listen to them at each meal. My congratulations and thanks. Yours, Carlos Salzedo." So I thought that was a wonderfully congratulatory letter from colleague to colleague.
And so those were about the Bach on the Harp album and the Amor d'Espagne album?
The Amor d'Espagne album, yes. Yep.
Pretty impressive.
Yep.
And, I know these days that there's quite a divide between the schools of playing, but back then, they respected each other's playing.
They respected each other's playing. They may have differed technically, but they respected each other's playing. And they both came through the rigorous training at the Paris Conservatoire. They both had to play the piano very well. They both had to play their instrument very well. They had harmony classes and counterpoint and sight singing and you name it. They had to do it.
And both studied with Tournier while there.
And both studied Hasselmans.
Oh,
they
Hasselmans,
both
you're
studied
right.
with Hasselmans while they were there.
Yes, Tournier was 1912 and after, and it was Hasselmans. So they both came, and Salzedo would have
same line.
Perhaps 10 years or so earlier than Grandjany. I forget what year he would have.
In 1886, I think he was born. So 6 years.
So,
6 years younger.
Yeah.
Older, sorry, older.
Right, yeah.
But it's very interesting because it's a beautiful letter, and it just says, I listened to this and I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Not a hint of anything but collegiality and respect.
Right.
And I think that's wonderful.
I think it's beautiful, yeah.